Nice. Everyone missed my Billy Crystal homage.
Yeah, sorry, I was busy pressing record on like the 5 million devices we need to activate.
That's what it takes, to make this thing work. As Jack Black once said, not even Jack Black, AC/DC said, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Jack Black echoed what AC/DC said. That's what I should have said.
Same, but different.
Well, on the topic of people like Jack Black, I know we were chatting and said that we recently, probably time to kill, nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. We caught up on a lot of movies and series, both of us. I definitely wanted to pick your brain on what you watched and give some of the viewers a bit of a recant on some of the things I watched.
So, Duja, interestingly, like I know in a couple other videos we spoke about how I was PlayStationing so hard, and that kind of has Curious still is. It's like, because there's one player games, there's so many of them, but there's a couple of things we watch together when we're sitting and chilling and having dinner and stuff.
Yeah.
The first one that comes to mind is it's a Netflix film. It's called Extraction. I don't know if you've watched it.
I've seen the trailer. I haven't got to it yet.
So what's interesting is it's by no means an earth-shattering film, but it's not a bad film either. It's quite a cool film. So it's got Chris Hemsworth in. And fun fact, a lot of people this would go way over their heads, but it's directed by the Russo brothers, and they did Avengers Endgame. So this is just a side project that they did for the fun of it. And Chris Hemsworth is casted really well. It's this guy, you actually, I think, will dig it, dude, because he's this army kind of like ex-vet vibe kind of guy. And I don't want to give too much away, but it does seem like he has a death wish. And they never quite make it clear, but it still works in the film why. And he gets pulled into this sort of rescue and escape mission to save a kid. And it's pretty intense, man. Like, and it's got a very real feel, and I bought into it completely. And it's got like, I like the ending. The ending's very one of those, it's kind of like open to your own interpretation in a way.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the first film, and I really did enjoy it. I'd recommend anyone, if they've got time to kill, to watch it.
Speaking of like former Avengers, I actually ended up watching a movie called Zodiac. It's a pretty old movie. I think it's probably early, like teens, 2011, 12, somewhere around there. And that cast, they had Jake Gyllenhaal is one of the key characters. I was about to say,
isn't Jake Gyllenhaal in the jar? I thought so.
Yeah. Plus Robert Downey Jr., and so was Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, hectic.
In it. Yeah, man. And I must say, with like the three of them, it was an interesting movie. It was a bit slow for my liking. It's basically all about the Zodiac killer that terrorized America for a while. And for a lot of people that don't know, they never caught the Zodiac. In fact, in watching the movie, I didn't even know that they kind of, this one guy kind of obsesses about it and literally gets to the sort of like narrowing down a very plausible suspect, but nothing ever comes of it. And then they like kind of present you with all these things, you kind of see the links, and then it's just kind of left to you, the viewer's interpretation. Is it, or is he, or wasn't he, or whatever it was. So yeah, it was a cool movie, still a cast, but like I said, my only critique of it was, for me, maybe a little bit on the slow side. In delivering the story.
But is the beginning slow, or is the whole film slow?
It wasn't even beginning slow. It was...
Because to me, that's forgivable. I know it loses a lot of people. Like Kira's one of those. If it doesn't get to the point really quickly, where I will give something a chance because I know they're building a lot of story, and that'll bleed over into one of other videos later, is that the whole story building, setting up, and sometimes it does take a while to the point where you're about to turn it off, or about to put the book down, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what just happened?
It was weird for me because it starts out by, you see Zodiac's killings and the letters he used to write to the press and stuff like that, and those initial first couple minutes actually were kind of hooking for me. I was like, oh, cool, awesome, okay. So you're actually kind of seeing the methodology and what he did, etc. And then there was a part where I won't lie, it Yeah, they hit a lull, a dip for me. And I say this because there was a part where I almost nodded off, and I had to like kind of wake myself up, change how I was sitting, etc., to kind of So maybe it was just movie fatigue, plausible, but yeah, there was just this one point, and then the ending of how everything kind of came up, I felt was maybe a little bit rushed.
Okay, so pacing's
out. The pacing was out for me.
I know this is totally off topic, but it's something that's always interested me. Someone like the Zodiac killer is a good example, or whatever. I wondered to myself if like this killer sat at home and had this 100% like anticlimactic death, like tripped over and like over a toaster or something. And like that's what got them, like, you know, like, and it's like, is this what my life's come to? Because, you know, so many serial killers and stuff thrive on all that attention, and if they don't get caught, they're almost like, what was the point, you know, like.
100%. Zodiac was a prime example, the way he was forcing the newspapers to publish his letters, or else he would threaten to go and kill kids and all kinds of stuff. So you're right, and the fact that it just kind of stopped, it's who knows, maybe that's exactly what happened.
But yeah, I don't know if you want to, must I keep going, or?
I was going to say hit another one, or I can drop another one that I watched recently.
Well, yeah, so this will be a quick one, dude, but a while back, I can't remember if we didn't watch it together or if we did, but I watched Venom, and I saw it on Netflix now, and Kira had missed that because I watched it with guys and stuff. So I decided, like, let's rewatch it, because I kind of figured Kira might dig it, and she actually did. And it's a strange thing, man. Like, I'm not going to go on and on about Venom and get very comic booky, but I enjoyed it more the second time around than the first time. The first time, I couldn't make up my mind about the film, and in some ways it felt dated, and I was a bit confused. But like, yeah, man, I just watched it this time, and the humor and everything like just worked, and it was cool. So yeah,
I find it interesting that you say that. I had a similar experience. I also, when it came onto Netflix, I also rewatched it. This was weeks ago, and I agree with you. It was far more enjoyable for me the second time. Maybe we both took this attitude, and we weren't overthinking it. We were just watching it for the enjoyment, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I enjoyed the inner monologue between him and Venom in his head, and all of those little things. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I do think it is, we put too much pressure on ourselves and just be like, I got to nail and see every little comic book Easter egg and every little continuity and see how true they were. And it's just like, go in and be entertained. It's like, what happened to that?
The only part of that movie that does annoy me and still annoys me, and it's weird because I am actually a big Eminem fan, but that damn theme song, Venom, 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 I can't stand it. And every time I watch it, it sticks in my head for the next day or so. I just can't stop everything every 2 seconds. Venom, 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 Venom. Yeah.
Yeah.
My only big
not a fan of the track either. You know, I'm a rocker kid, dude, so I'm like, try to be open-minded, Mark. But, yeah, what you got for us?
Another thing that I watched, if we're still in the comic book realm, I think it's almost like there's actually a couple. I hit that new Scorpion, Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion animated movie.
I haven't seen that yet, okay.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nice.
I thought the animation was cool. They have this great blend of just very cool animation, really along the lines of like the DC animated type stuff that's coming out, plus an intermix of stuff from the latest game. So in certain fight scenes, when someone does get a certain strike through, they go to that X-ray cam, and you actually see the bone cracking and stuff on a jaw, or a spine being snapped on a certain move and that. And I like that interplay, that taking those elements from the game.
That's one thing Mortal Kombat did really well, dude. I mean, like, when you look at the old games, they didn't have anything close to that. And a lot of people are like, don't change it. But that was a cool addition. That whole X-ray vision you're talking about, it's just like, yes.
Totally. So, look, it's violent. It's just a bit gory. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. All the cool key characters are there. Yeah, I would recommend anybody give it a watch if you're a fan of the Mortal Kombat in any way. And I hope that they actually do a follow-up. They've certainly left it open to more than one follow-up. Who the focus character will be, I don't know, but there's definitely room for that. And I think, if you can get hold of it, if you want, I can find a way to get it through to you and give it a watch. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, nice. Because I asked Kira the other day, and she was trying to download Red Sun for me, so it's on my list. After our previous chat, I wanted to check it out. So yeah, man. Like if I can just binge all that at once, that would be cool.
Yeah, it's worth it. Another one that I watched that I thoroughly enjoyed, actually, I think for a variety of reasons, was Bloodshot, the Vin Diesel one.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, managed to find that, and a lot of people diss on Valiant, the comic company, the publisher. Varying reviews. Some people like their stuff, some people don't. Some people say it's like third, fourth tier type publisher. But when you look at it, they've actually got a host of characters. Some are, not that dissimilar from your Iron Mans and all of those. Fine, I take that. But still with a cool twist. If you look at the Exo Manowar character, and Bloodshot in particular, very cool character. And I first read my first Bloodshot comic. I was in high school, back in the 90s. And that whole thing of just what if the first real super soldier was amongst us, and it wasn't some magical serum, but it was nanites in the guy's blood that were repairing damage, enhancing strength, speed, all of those kinds of things. And I think they tap into what this person could do quite nicely. Guy Ritchie's in it, and he's always a super strong actor. He brings it to the role, and he's fantastic in this role. Vin Diesel is pretty cool in this, but I must say, dude, it's got Avengers level animation in terms of CGI and stuff. There's some stuff that happens in that movie that's like blows you away almost. You almost have to rewatch it to try to take in all the stuff that happens in some of these fight sequences. It was very, very cool.
Yeah, I do think, unfortunately, it's going to be one of those movies that suffered from the whole lockdown thing. Like, you always get like, dude, no matter how amazing the film is going to be, then Rotten Tomatoes is like, no, it's trash. Then you get like a bunch of the sheep that are like, well, it must be trash. And they don't go watch it for themselves. And then a friend goes and watches and is like, well, I actually thought it was cool. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then they go, and then all of a sudden the media changes. It's like, yeah, this unsuspecting film is actually amazing. It's like, really, just go make up your own mind. So I feel so bad for Bloodshot. I still want to check it out because I read a similar article where they said it actually has the potential to be such an awesome hit. But it's just the timing was all.
I agreed. And I must say, dude, they don't even follow the same comic book formula. Like, all of the first ones have a sort of origin story, and this is how. They don't even follow that typical kind of thing. But you do get his origin. They give all that to you, but in a very unique kind of way.
Oh, that's great.
So I really, really enjoyed it. It's a good, don't go in there with a serious kind of, that's impossible or this is impossible. You have to watch it with, it's a comic book type character, and he can do things that none of us can do and just go with it. It's a great thrill ride. Really cool.
Nice. Something else that I watched, I'm going to jump ship quickly, but it was a series, dude. I don't know if you ever watched season 1 of Titans.
No, I did not.
So I'm going to talk about season 2, but I'm sure you saw enough in the news, and anyone that did, that Starfire as a character was like the stark contrast, and it was really bad, man. People were really brutal. They like said she looked like a prostitute, and all this craziness. And interestingly, I liked season 2. I like it because it is a little bit darker, but I don't mean darker in the traditional sense. They're willing to like curse, and it's this, scenes are violent when they need to be. They don't hold back because it is a series and stuff.
They bring Deathstroke. I've heard he's in season 2.
Yeah, so I'm actually on my way there. But so but Starfire, they just toned her hair down, so she's never going to be Starfire. Maybe they'll work their way there, but definitely a significant improvement, and it's proof that listening to your viewers, thumbs up. But then they did a version of Deathstroke, and there's some elements to him that are cool, but they just aren't, man. Like, if you go back to Green Arrow's Deathstroke and the Deathstroke they were setting up in Zack Snyder's universe, bad with names. You actors' names way better.
I know in Arrow it was a guy named Manu something or other, and then it was it'll come to me who he is in the actual DC
Yeah.
entertainment unit. Joe Manganiello or something like that.
And they looked phenomenal. And unfortunately, I just kept measuring this guy up to them, and he just didn't cut it for me, unfortunately.
Right.
So that unfortunately was a little bit of a fail to me. What is interesting, I find, I don't know the story too well, but they do some kind of the Jericho storyline, which is Deathstroke's son, and Deathstroke's daughter is in the series now too. And again, I don't know how comic book accurate that is, but it did seem cool. One other thing that, man, I couldn't deal, dude. Like, so the story is based around Dick Grayson very much, and it's his slow transition from being a Robin, breaking away from Batman, and eventually, and at the end of the season, spoiler, he becomes Nightwing. But anyone that watches comics knows it's like coming. But he suits up in the last episode or two. But anyway, but he has this constant thing where he's dealing with these like inner demons that are in his head, like of like owning who he wants to be and where his aggression is and what kind of man he wants to become. And that story's fine, but what they do is they do this Bruce Wayne imagination father figure thing that keeps talking to him and fighting with him and arguing with him and like putting him in his place. Now that's played, I don't know if you know, but Batman / Bruce Wayne in the context of the series is played by a guy called Ian Glenn, I think his name is. And he's a phenomenal actor. I don't know if you know who he is. He's in Game of Thrones, but I can't use that reference for you because you're not a fan. But he's got this he's a way older guy, and he's very charismatic and stuff. And the role itself is really cool, but I just can't picture Bruce Wayne doing that. And that really bothered me, like the comments and some of the things he said. And he tries to do the whole like smirky, too smart, but then at the end he's emotional thing. But like, and Bruce Wayne would be blunt, but in a different way. And I don't know how to explain to you. I just need you to see it. It's like to maybe see if you agree or disagree with me. So that bothered me. But the one other cool thing, they did introduce him to season 1, but season 2 he sort of continued him, and they put Jason Todd in, and I think the actor that plays him, it's they really play him hard as like the reckless young, like disobedient Robin that's slowly growing. And everyone's got something against him, and he's like the rebel in the group. And I kind of liked how they've played that out. I think that's a strength. But overall, like it sounds like I got so much bad to say about the series, but I still enjoyed it, funny enough. So, so that's a bit of a mixed feelings thing. But yeah, so that's one of the most recent series I've watched. But yeah, I'd be keen to see what they're going to do in season 3, because they did kind of leave it open. But yeah, what else have you watched, dude?
Sure. I watched another one that's kind of comic booky, but sci-fi and all of that, on Netflix. So if you have a chance to get to it and watch it, it was quite cool. It's called Code 8 with Robbie Amell and Stephen Amell.
I think I watched it.
I thought that they were brothers initially, and it turns out that they're just cousins, but they are related. And it's all about a kind of a not too distant future, potentially, with guys with meta powers, varying different degrees from telekinesis, telepathy, healing. And it just so happens that I think it's Robbie Amell's character has the ability to control lightning and electricity and manifest it and stuff. And yeah, and it just kind of shows you this world where those people that have those powers are kind of singled out. They try and find them, tag them, have them on file so they can track them and monitor them. And it was an interesting take on what that kind of a future could look like. And I enjoyed the movie. I think it's a cool movie. Netflix, I can't fault them on the movies that they make. It was just a nice, cool sci-fi comic book theme-ish kind of film. Good to watch.
Yeah, dude, funny enough, I'm interested that I forgot that, but yeah, Kira and I watched that, and I liked it. I know a lot of people kind of like don't like Stephen Amell. I'm a fan, I dig him, but I know like people in Green Arrow, like, like that whole, sorry, wrong sound. I had a sound in mind, total fail. This is Oliver Queen, like everyone's like doesn't like the whole, I found the right sound. Thank God. But anyway, like, Yeah, dude, I buy it though. I dig him. I think he's hardcore and he's cool and
Yeah.
he's got the whole.
And in that movie, I thought he was actually quite a cool character too.
Yeah, and then he's got the whole fuck cancer thing. I don't know if you know about that. It's
Him and Ryan Reynolds and all of them.
Yeah. And I actually think he was the sort of like the originator. I could be totally wrong, but I know he's big into that and other various charities and stuff. So I think he's a cool guy. I got no problems there with him.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was a good watch. I also got to watch a new one. Came out, I think, end of last year. Another Guy Ritchie film called The Gentleman.
Okay.
And all I can say to people is if you like Guy Ritchie films, I mean, the Sherlock movies are amazing, but more to his kind of traditional type of stories. I know he did like Rock and Roller, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch. If you like those types of movies that he did, that's normally around the English sort of underbelly side, guys that are into the drug scene, drug dealing, gangsters, etc. The Gentleman is very much around that, and it's got a great cast, dude. It has Matthew McConaughey is one of the key characters. It's got Charlie Hunnam, who was the main character in Sons of Anarchy, Jax Teller. So he's in there. Also great role for him. It's got Colin Farrell has a role in it. It's got Hugh Grant. Jeez. And I must say Hugh Grant's character is surprisingly entertaining and excellent at the same time. And in true Guy Ritchie fashion, it's got your violence, it's like your British type of violence, guys getting shot, whatever, beaten up, all the slang of the Brits is in there, but it's got that cool kind of twist where right at the end, certain things kind of fall into place and you go, wow.
Nice.
Okay,
yeah, I dig Snatch, so I'll definitely check it out. So
yeah, I think you'll enjoy it, and I've recommended it to one or two people already, and they've all gone like, wow, yeah, okay. Just it's like in that same vein as all the others, and they're enjoyable just as the others are. I also got to watch the new Jumanji 2. And I've got to say, look, I think it does suffer from the same problem that a lot of movies with sequels suffers from, in that, you know, the first, there was the Robin Williams one, which is awesome and stuff in and of itself.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the first Rock and Kevin Hart one.
Because that's actually what I wanted to ask. When you said Jumanji 2, did you mean exactly what you're explaining? And I was like, which one is it?
So the one is, I think the first one that they did together was Welcome to the Jungle, which was, I loved it. I thought it was amazing. The chemistry with Kevin Hart and The Rock is amazing. The way that they play these kids trapped in these bodies.
Isn't Jack Black also in it?
Correct, Jack Black.
Okay.
And in the first one, Jack Black's character, or at least he's the avatar for a female player. So the way he pulls that off is really cool. And in this movie, some of the roles get switched and reversed. So Jack Black isn't a female character this time around. And he's phenomenal. At moments he properly steals the show. But in the first one, where I thought definitely The Rock was the one who steals the show in the first one. Kevin Hart kind of backing him up. In this one, dude, Kevin Hart plays the person who embodies him is Danny Glover. And the way Kevin Hart plays an elderly Danny Glover, the way he talks slowly, like just these long drawn out stories to get to a point, it's hysterical. He is a winner. It's like, you just can't go wrong with this one.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's entertaining. For me, it was as entertaining as the first one. But probably not, maybe one or two notches down, because it's the sequel for me. So but I thoroughly enjoyed it again, and I think as a family movie it's fantastic too. Definitely another one that I would say is totally worth a watch. And I think the last one on my list, that wrapping things up, and I think we'd probably chat a bit about this one, is Birds of Prey. Harley Quinn.
I've been keen to, I think I mentioned it in one of the old podcasts, and I've always been interested to see what you think. Like, it's been sort of tearing me up inside, like, you know, because I there's certain things I've said, but also things I haven't. I've kind of forgotten now, but I'm sure you'll refresh my mind. It'll like,
dude, I'll be honest with you, I just didn't like it. I don't know. It suffers from so many things for me. It's you mentioned to me once that they're trying to position her almost as DC's Deadpool, and I see that they're trying really hard for that, and it didn't hit for me. I didn't like any of the other characters they brought into it. They had a Cassandra Cain that I didn't enjoy. They had the Black Canary that I did not enjoy at all.
What did you think of her scream?
It just didn't work for me. For me, it sounds terrible, but it's almost like it was like for me a PC putting someone in that thing, and almost like really emphasizing the Black Canary. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it.
It never works if it's forced. You've got to find characters that organically speak to the character.
Yeah, even the chick doing Huntress, I thought was just, I don't know. There's just not enough for me. There wasn't enough backstory on all these other characters. They really are trying to let Margot Robbie carry the movie. I thought the costume choices for her were ridiculous.
She was one of the, I think, either producers or directors on this film, Margot Robbie. So a lot of the decisions on her.
And it actually came through because in the first, in Suicide Squad, it was like she wasn't Margot Robbie yet. That movie was certainly one of the movies that helped elevate her to like an A-list status actress. Now you can see she had a lot of influence and control over things in this movie, and in my opinion, not for the betterment of the movie. I'm struggling to find things of the movie that I liked. For me, it was just one thing after another that I just...
There's only two notes that I can really give. So interestingly, I think I did mention this in the previous podcast where, I think for normal moviegoers, someone like Kira watched it and she just really enjoyed it. And I think it's also because she went in to be entertained and no expectations, and she digged it. I think that is where we struggle with the comic bookness. It's no, we kind of, even if you don't know the character well, I don't know Black Canary very well as well as I'd like to, but even I was what? I'm so confused right now. Huntress also, even Green Arrow's Huntress I didn't like that much, but I liked more than this this Huntress. But the one and only thing that I really took, and this is kind of the technical, soundy, geeky side of me, is I read up on this afterwards where, and I might be repeating myself, but they had John Wick's fight coordinators. And I think some of the fight scenes were done really cool. They were very creative in the context of the film, where Harley would throw something that would bounce and knock someone out, and a lot of the fight stunt coordination I thought was pretty cool for the context of the film, but it stops there. For me. For
me, I would agree with you, but for me, it was all around Margot Robbie or Harley Quinn being the baddest of all of them, and she's just not in the comic book. She's cooked, sure. She can hold her own, but she's certainly not at that level of taking out an army of 20 guys.
Yeah.
That's something that would normally, you go to a Black Canary for her fighting prowess, or even a Huntress. They are the ones that are more equipped in the comic book world for that. So, again, it was just, for me, it was just a blatant attempt to try and make her the center of and whatever, and I just, for me, it fell flat. I didn't enjoy it. I actually watched it with somebody who's a recent Harley Quinn fan because of the Suicide Squad, and particularly Margot Robbie in that role. And even she was going no, why this? No, why that? Wow, they really are trying too hard. That's my overarching thing. It's the only miss out of all the movies that I watched. That was the only one that I was just wow, I wish I could actually write them and ask them to refund me for my 2 hours of life that I wasted there.
Sure.
Rolling, 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 keeping doggies rolling. Man, my ass is swollen. Billy Crystal.